What's up, podcast listeners? This is Sean Griffin. I am so excited about today's podcast. We just got done recording, and I just wanted to let you know we're going to be getting into some awesome topics. We're going to be talking about how we need to treat others the way that we want to be treated, practicing righteousness. But to start us off, I'm going to be looking at and discussing the topic where Jesus talks about lust. With that, I'm going to be getting into my personal story and some of the struggles that I've had with lust. And so I just wanted to kind of give a warning to parents that maybe you should listen to this podcast by yourself. And then if you think that it is appropriate for your kids, let them listen to it too. But hey, I'm so glad you're along for the journey. Welcome to today's podcast.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 8 of Pursuing Jesus. This is Ben Smith.
I'm Sean Griffin.
And I'm John Ferguson.
And we're here to pursue Jesus. Trying to say that as often as physically possible.
I mean, we got to put the branding in there.
The branding,
as much as we
branding.
can.
Yes. Speaking of branding, we have a very special announcement that we're going to drop. Teaser at the very end of this episode. So make sure you listen all the way through. Sean personally told me he's going to look over each of your shoulders and make sure you don't skip to the end.
You're not allowed to skip. You have to listen to the whole thing, then you're going to want to stick around for this really cool announcement.
Exactly. But let's dive in real quick here.
How many eggs?
How many eggs?
You said exactly. How many?
Baker's dozen. A baker's dozen.
Baker's. That was
that's the only way I know how to quantify eggs.
That was so stupid.
Redeem us, Sean. Oh, you're the one who asked the question, okay? I don't want to hear it.
This is my job. How many times can I have John put his hand on top of his head and shake like, what are these guys doing?
A baker's dozen.
I would like to remind our listeners, this is episode 8. We have, what's the math on that? 44 left to go, so lock in.
You know what I'm excited about?
What are you excited about?
Since you just said that? The person that discovers this podcast in December, they just start chugging along and are listening to all of them like back to back, like because they're just like for some reason they really like
super
it.
engaged.
Oh, they're gonna have an experience.
They are.
That's
going to
be an experience, right there.
An experience that we ourselves don't really even know what it's going to be like.
No, I haven't gone back and listened. I listen to them each week.
Yes,
with my family, and it's really fun. Me and my wife are definitely paying attention. Miles is mostly paying attention. Not sure about the other two, but it's on while they're around, right?
Yes.
But no, I don't go back and like, hey, let's go back to episode 1. But hey, that's something else. I'm curious. Has anybody done that? Has anybody like let us know? Have you gone back and hey, I want to go back and listen to an episode I've already listened to. I'm just curious, like seriously, if you've done that, let me know.
Re-listenability. I haven't looked at the stats on that. Yeah. But shout out to our engaged and active listeners. I love it. Sean, kick us off here.
Yeah, dude, we're going to go right into the deep end here.
Oh, here we go.
We're starting. So this, man, for those of you who have been following along with the devotion, this week was a roller coaster. Every day was like little tidbits of of information from the Sermon on the Mount, and it was a good week, but lots of very practical advice. But the one I've chosen, and not so much for theology, I guess. It is, of course, it's theology, but it's personal. It's personal, and so that's why I chose this one. And so, what day? February 22nd is when you will be reading, or you should have read, Matthew chapter 5, verses 27 through 30. And how about this? I'm just going to read the passage. We don't always read the entire passage, but since this one is kind of short, I do want to read it. And then I'm just going to share my heart, and we'll go from there. Here's what Jesus is saying. He says, "You have heard it was said, 'Do not commit adultery.' But I tell you, everyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of the parts of your body than for your whole body to go into hell." The reason that I wanted to look at this, and I do want to talk about, if we get there, and if we remember to get there, to the crazy hyperbole that Jesus is using here, because I do think that is extremely important.
Yes.
But really, so he's talking about adultery, and the reason he's bringing this up is he's bringing up Old Testament law that they would have followed, like, hey, you're not supposed to commit adultery. And this would have been something very serious for them. There was very serious punishments for adultery. But Jesus takes it another step. And he takes it just that little step farther to really involve your heart and not just the actions you take. And in verse 28, he says, I tell you, everyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. I haven't gotten the chance to share too much of my testimony from the pulpit on Sundays, but I'm extremely open with the students, with my past and things. And even on this podcast, I've already been able to share a little bit. And, I've told y'all that I was a wild teenager, and I really was. I was involved in the party scene and all that involves all the different things with the parties. But the one thing I tell my students all the time is, out of all the drinking, the drugs, and all the stuff that I was involved in as a teenager, the thing that really hurt me the most was pornography. Yeah. That was the one that was the most difficult to overcome. When I started to follow Jesus, the desire to get plastered went away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The desire to get high went away pretty quickly. What I struggled with was pornography for a very long time, even into my marriage. And then also before marriage, but, during this time. But, I can't even remember who I was talking to the other day, but I tried to describe myself during this time, and I just said I was a hoe. And that's what it was. I was a hoe. I used women. I told them everything they wanted to hear, told them I loved them, and it was all for the purpose of fulfilling my sexual desires. Yeah. And I was a terrible, terrible person as a teenager. And to really overcome that mindset, and then that one I was able to, try to, especially, actually for that one, really what came to me was when I went to Argentina, after I graduated high school, went to Argentina as a missionary for a year and did college. While there, I really took an oath, said, God, I'm not going to pursue any girls. Now, I didn't fulfill that 100%. I didn't date. I didn't do anything like that. I mean, I was flirting and stuff. But anyways, I didn't truly try to not pursue. But that was where the Lord really started to work on my heart and change that. But even after that, pornography was something that stuck with me for an extremely long time. It was extremely difficult. It had a grasp on me. And the reason I bring that up is because it is the secret sin of the church.
Yes.
It is, when we look at Barna statistics, and if you're not familiar with Barna is one of the most trusted groups that puts out information and statistics about the church and church life and different things like that, and even culture. And their statistics show that people that go to church regularly, their pornography use, and this is people that admit it in surveys, is only, I think it's 10 to 20% less than people outside of church.
Wow.
Yeah.
I believe it's 60% of men in the world and 40% of the men in the church. It's something right around there. It is high. And then the same is true with the women. I think with women in the world, it's around 40% have admitted to looking at pornography within the past month. And then within the church, it's about 10 or 20% less. And so it is affecting the entire church. And I think the reason it is so much more difficult is because it is that secret sin. Drinking, many times it's done in public or other people in your household it can affect, and it can affect different things. But a pornography addiction is something that you can do and no one ever knows. No one ever knows. And because of that, you feel like it's okay.
Well, there's also so many avenues to it. You look at the way, it's easy for kids to get a hold of it. I know when I was growing up, I had a friend down the street, and they had the magazines, right? Yeah. His dad had a collection. And that was other than trying to look through the lines on cable television, the only way you saw it as a kid when I was growing up.
Do you understand that reference?
I don't.
Okay, we're gonna move along. We're not gonna explain it, but yeah.
But now, you can get it on the computer, you can get it on your phone, you can get it through streaming. Parents that don't put codes on their televisions, their kids can accidentally or maybe intentionally click on it.
Well, and the crazy thing, like, because like when I was growing up, this is when, the internet started to become a thing, and dial-up internet and getting on AOL and all that stuff. And so we had a computer in the house that was in a public location of the house.
Yeah.
Right. And even that, I was still like trying to be sneaky and go and look at things I shouldn't have been looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And so but nowadays, every single teenager has a computer in their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And there needs, and parents, I'm telling you, you need to have not only, you need to have guards in place in your house.
Yes.
You have to.
Yep.
And it's for protecting your children. And it's, I think that what that looks like could be different for each household. For mine, phones don't belong in the room. They stay out in the living room. At the end of the day, my son is the only one that has a working phone, but my daughter has like a Wi-Fi only phone that she uses. But even that, like it is something that stays in the kitchen. It stays in the living room. That's where it charges. That's where it lives. It doesn't go in your room. And so, but we've got to have these guardrails because it is something that is so readily available in today's culture.
It is. I'm not going to remember the YouTuber off the top of my head. I can go in and try to find it in post if we need to, but he basically studies, he's a scientist and he studies algorithms. And he's looked at Facebooks, he's looked at YouTubes, anything that's got reels, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah.
He's gone on the kids version of each of those as it has been available, and he just scrolled, didn't like anything, didn't whatever, and his study is like at what point can we push these without from the mind of a child, quote unquote, before it shows something that is bad.
Yeah.
And those pressure tests usually end in about like 15 to 20 minutes.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts? I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist with what I'm about to say, but I believe this 100%. So we have three enemies in this world.
Yes.
We've got flesh, the world, and the devil.
Yeah.
And like we can make arguments for like Satan and his minions work through and in those other two. But I firmly believe, I'm not Amish over here, but I firmly believe that like particularly in the entertainment and the technology sector, like Satan has such a stronghold in that he bends all of this around to enslave us,
100%.
to enslave us and to slave our minds. And whether that's intentional, like you've got people that will never hear their names behind desks who are manipulating these systems to make them addictive. They are, by the way.
Yes.
But even past that, the over the shoulder, Satan is trying to make his dominion known through the technology that we all readily have access to.
Yeah.
I feel like another piece too is like you talked about safeguards. Because to your point, John, everything that is wrong or bad in this world is so readily accessible now, whether that's pornography or other awful things. I feel like so Ben is not a parent, so I would love y'all's takes on this. Like, I feel like, does that prompt you guys as parents, or encourage y'all to prompt parents that have kids that are coming to the age where they're exposed to technology, to start to have some of those conversations sooner about like safety online, or
yes,
you may be exposed to this, or if you see something like this, do not be afraid. Just come tell me.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like my whole generation was completely unequipped for that. So I was the first generation to grow up with like pocket-sized internet in a lot of ways. I have so many friends, and myself included, who like my parents just didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Well, I think the beginning of it is just being honest with your kids. I think that's one of the biggest problems. I grew up. My parents, you don't talk about sex. You don't talk about these things. I could not go to my parents and see the value of what God had designed it for. I had to realize that my parents are not the ones I went to, and it wasn't best that I would go to my brothers or my friends.
Heavens no.
And so when my kids started talking to me, like my daughter, in the third grade, somebody had said something to her. Third grade, mind you. So we asked her, well, what do you think that is? And so she gave us a short answer. What's where mommy and daddy kiss? I'm like, okay, well, that's good. So we didn't go any further, but as the years went on and it got progressed, then we started having that conversation with her. So I think safeguards are important. But I also think one of the biggest things that we have to do, and that's what he gets to in this passage, is, we have to get to the heart of the issue. Because you think about it, cutting off the hand isn't really going to stop the sin. The mutilation, and that wasn't what Jesus was trying to get to. Plucking out the eye. I can still lust without seeing. I can still steal without hands. It's a heart issue. And so it's really getting our kids to see why God doesn't want us to be a part of this, the lusting, because God has designed us to partner. He brought my wife into my life to be the one and only that I need. And there's so many other things in Scripture that tell us, and I want to get past the stigma in church. We don't talk about sex, but it is a beautiful thing in the confines of marriage. And because you have those prudes out there that are like, we don't talk about it, we don't deal with those things. I think that's what pushes kids into experiencing and talking to others and getting all the wrong things. So I think as parents, if we sit down and just tell our kids, hey, look, God designed it. It's a beautiful thing between a husband and a wife. And the reason why you don't want to go down the path of lusting or pornography, which is easy for every young male kid, because I went through it when I was a teenager.
And females.
Yeah, if drop the male dude.
So I know, but I know from my perspective how easy it was. And so I look at it and I say to myself, God didn't want that for me. And if I continue to go down that path, does that not taint my relationship with my wife? Does it not put unexpected things into our marriage? And so it's important for us to get to the heart issue.
Yeah.
And I feel like you had mentioned the hyperbolic
language.
Hyperbolic language.
Hey, this is me correcting you in your pronunciation for once. I like this.
Pardon my propensity to elocute utilizing advanced vocabulary, Sean.
Oh, hush.
But and like revisiting the hyperbole thing of the text, like John, it's like you said, like cutting your hands off or gouging out your eyes isn't going to stop you from sinning. But I think one of the other things to draw out here is that like killing sin in your life costs you.
Yes, absolutely.
Like one of the things that I've noticed as I've counseled others and as I've walked out my own arc of redemption here is like any sin, call it lust, call it anger, call it whatever, is hard to kill, and it's costly for us. Because we have to take something that obviously like we have a desire. We value whatever we're getting from that sin. And we have to lay it at the foot of the cross. And so there's pain in that. There's difficulty in that. It's arduous. And it's a question of priority, kind of like you said, about like, am I going to gratify this now? Or am I going to choose not to for the sake of my relationship with God first and then with other people around me? And I think that's not like a yes or a no process. It's a journey. It's a step forward. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward. Sometimes it's 1 step back. I don't think that growth in fighting sin is linear.
No, and this is one of the ways I counsel students all the time, because so many times we get it in our brain that, like, especially when it comes to pornography, right? That if we because a lot of times we'll market it like, okay, man, I've got a month, I've done a month, I've done good, 2 months or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden it's like you fail. And what I'm always telling my students is like it doesn't mean you're starting over from ground zero. You've had all these steps, all those days. So yes, you might be marking back to day one of not looking at pornography, but all those other days still count. You are still moving in the right direction. Yep. Like, don't let that, because so many times what I'll hear from students is like, well, what's the point? Like I failed, so I failed, so I'm just done. I'm just gonna give up. It's like, no. Look at the progress. Look at what's going on, and keep looking back to Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, don't we do that with every sin?
Yeah.
Oh, I failed. Well, I'm going to fail again. I might as well just do it again. Yeah. And so you're right. You've already come so far. Keep going.
Well, and that's the character of God too. I mean, you got to remember the story of the prodigal son. Like the second the son turned and the father saw him, he ran to him.
Yeah.
And so when we are on that path of repentance and we turn, it's not as if we then have to slog our way back to the Lord. Of course, He's going to do work in our hearts that involves getting back onto the track that He has for us. But I mean, the Father rejoices when we return to Him.
Yep.
And so it's less of I'm going to stop this bad thing and more of I'm going to turn back to the ultimate good thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I got us serious very quickly there. So who's next? What are we looking at next?
I think we said it was going to be me. Let's talk about February 26th. So this is Matthew 6, and I'm going to follow the example of my elder pastor and read the whole text.
Excuse you.
Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And then it goes on to talk about a similar archetype for prayer, not doing it in public. And then there's the verse 7 and 8, which talks about not heaping up empty phrases. Kind of the heartbeat of this text that I saw that stood out to me was, as the Father rewards in secret, before he rewards within, it doesn't say what you're going to get. There's not like pray in secret so that God will answer your prayers all the way that you want to. Not give in secret so that the Lord will restore back tenfold of what you've given.
Yeah.
And the thing that stood out to me is that, like, when you're giving and praying, when done right, do not inherently give an earthly reward. But the reward you do get is a relationship with your Father.
Yeah.
And the secrecy there, I mean, like don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. That's not physically possible, just from like a brain hemisphere perspective. But I mean, the point, Jesus is using hyperbolic language again, just to say, like, it's between you and your Father.
So you don't want a trumpet sound every time you give to the Lord.
No, you don't.
We had a lady, this was before I began to pastor the church in Alabama, that they told me that she would give. And anytime she gave like a large amount, she wanted it in the bulletin with her name.
Wow.
And I said, well, if I had been the pastor then, I'd have said, you can keep your money.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. But there are people like that.
That's interesting.
She has received her reward.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yep.
She has received her reward, her name in a bulletin.
Yep.
And I will tell you, like, I think it's a natural pull of pride to want that applause. Right. And like, you also get like that weird hybrid of like false humility. Like, I gave, and like, I don't want anybody to know, but like, I want you to, but it's so funny to me. You don't value the relationship with your Father until you have a relationship with your Father. And I think that value goes up over time. Like, as you begin to actually do what he's saying here and to invest in secret, and then let that inform how you do the rest of your life. That grows and grows and grows until maybe it's not so hard. I don't know. I'm still working.
I think this is something I'm very glad that my dad invested in me at a young age, even before I was serious about my relationship with Jesus, was the idea of tithing to the church. It was something that my dad, so I was raised in, my dad owned his own business, and he did very well for himself for a very long time. And he was very generous. He was very generous. He had a giving heart. I don't.
Thank you for your vulnerability and honesty here on the Pursuing Jesus podcast. All right.
I mean, I'll just be honest. It is not an instinct of mine to be generous with money. It is not. And so I am very grateful that my dad instilled within me and showed me from a young age that if you will trust in the Lord, and give to the church and give back to God, it is amazing how God will provide for you.
That's right.
And so even while me and Tiffany were in our dirt poor days of newlyweds, we gave generously to the Lord. And it is something that has blessed us. And it's one of those things that's hard to try to convey to other people as a pastor, because they always feel like there's some dark motive.
Yeah.
And so
you're not wanting to put it in your pocket.
Exactly. And so it's really hard to try to get people to see that genuinely.
Yeah.
But it is something that, like, man, if I could get people that don't tithe to truly, like, dude, just give it a shot.
Yeah.
So then, like, have your heart, and not just like, oh, okay, let me write this check now because I got to do it. Like, no. It's about your heart, like we're seeing here.
That's the secret. Like that is the secret.
Yes.
That the Father sees it and you have relationship with him through it.
Yeah.
But if you don't see the value in relationship with God over your physical means, then that's not going to click for you. It's not going to clock.
Well, I challenged our people one time at my first church, and I just told them, I said, look, there's that one passage where God says, try me, right? I mean, the one time that God says to test him is in giving. And I just told him, I said, look, I want you to trust God. And I said, so here's what I'll do. I believe so much that God will take care of you, that if you'll give to the Lord what he asks of you for the next 6 months, if you can come to me at the end of 6 months and say, hey, God didn't provide, we did without, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'll give you back every penny.
Whoa.
That's how much I trust in God and his principles.
I don't know what to do with that.
So 6 months go by, and I had this lady start storming up to me at the end of church, and I have forgotten about the challenge I made. And she just comes up to me and she goes, how did you do it? And I said, how did I do what? And she said, I just want to know how you did it, or how he did it. And I said, again, I'm not certain what you're talking about. She said, I took your challenge 6 months ago. She said, I nor my husband got a raise. We don't make more money. She said, at the end of the month, we would always have pennies. And she said, and we started giving to God like we were supposed to. And she said, and we didn't get any more money. She said, and somehow we have more money at the end of the month. And I said, I can't answer you how he does it. Mm-hmm. He just does it.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, God's math doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
Makes sense to him.
Yes. So it's incredible how God, that's something my parents instilled in me too, and Julie's parents did it to her. So it's amazing.
Yeah, that really is. Well, John, close us out here. What's our last verse?
Well, I just took one verse from our February 24th passage, just because something stood out to me, and this one's just really, it's something I've tried to instill in my kids, mainly because of a passage that's read earlier, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But anyways, it's from Luke 6:31, where it says, treat people the same way you want them to treat you. And why this passage is important to me is because what comes before that is whoever hits you, turn the other cheek. And I've had so many parents go, I tell my kids, if somebody hits you, you finish it. You know, you don't strike first, but if they strike you, you strike back. And I'm like, but that's not biblical. And it's not treat others the way they have treated you. It's treat others the way you want them to treat you. Your revenge is something that we desire. It's something that we want, but we're called to treat others better. And my son went through this several times, once in preschool and once in school, where somebody was like bullying him, and like one kid hit him every single day. And so it was one of those principles that we've had to live out. But I guess why this passage jumps out to me is it takes me to the parable on forgiveness in Matthew 18, where the guy owes the master so much money and he can't pay it back. And he's like, I'm going to sell you and your wife, throw you in prison, I'm going to sell your wife and your kids to slavery till you can pay me back every penny. And the guy goes, I can't. And the guy forgives him this huge debt. And then he goes out and he finds a guy that owes him a little bit of money, and he shakes him down, says, I'm going to throw you in prison, sell your wife and kids. And the guy goes, I can't. And the guy goes, okay, well, I'm going to throw you in prison. And he does it. And the guy who he owed the extreme debt to comes back to him and says, okay, now you're going to pay me back every penny. And every time I think about that parable, all I can think of is how much God has forgiven me. And I mean, it's a daily occurrence where God is forgiving me. And it's so much that it can't be counted. How in the world could I hold something against somebody when they've done so little to me compared to what I've done to God? If I want his forgiveness, I have to be willing to forgive. And if I want God to show me mercy, I have to show mercy. So that's why this passage really stood out to me.
That's easy to say and hard to do, right? When there's somebody in front of you. I mean, the line from the Matthew text with this that says, I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil.
Yep.
Like my heart still struggles with that. I mean, when you see that evil, what do you do? But, or even in the context of bullies, I mean, like, I wrestled with that growing up too, and there's times I still wish I could go back and give those kids a piece of my mind. That's hard to live with. I mean, I guess it comes down to witness and some degree of redemptive suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I look at this, and you look at the whole thing, in verse 27 in Luke, it says, "But I say to you who listen, love your enemies." Mm-hmm. And then it really just goes to break down to show exactly how true that statement really is.
Yeah.
And it really, to me, it boils down to serving other people. And it's not it's not about them looking to serve you back. It's like, no. You need to have the heart of what can you do for others, not what they can do for you.
Yeah.
That seems to be the heart here. It's just we need to be servants.
Yeah. It's huge. That is huge. Well, speaking of serving, we're serving up a very important announcement to you. Sean's shaking his head, but I'm going to toss it off to him for him to share this announcement.
Yeah, so we're very excited. We've been working on this for quite a while now because we've heard from quite a few church members.
At least 2.
I said quite a few. I said quite a few.
Strong possibility for 3.
Isn't few 3? Wouldn't it be a couple for 2?
Is it a baker's dozen?
I think it's a baker's dozen.
Anyways, moving on.
So our people have been asking for merch. Our church merch. They want to be able to show people in our community that the love they have for our church.
I got to rep the squad even when I'm out of town. You know what I'm saying?
I don't understand a word you just said. No.
As you're saying?
So anyways, so we've been working on a way to do that because, I mean, let's look at the reality of it. If we buy, in bulk, one shirt and then we, try to sell it or try to do whatever, it just makes it difficult, right? It's a difficult thing to do, to be able to put all that money up front to purchasing things, designing things, and all this kind of stuff. And
it's a little bit of a weird theological gray area too.
And it is. And there's that issue as well of like, all right, you're selling something in church and, what is this all about? And so anyways, we found a company online called The Church Shop, and it's really cool. And really their heart is they're trying to help the local church, and they do drop shipping of church merch. And so we went in there and we designed a number of different items. We've got a t-shirt, a long sleeve shirt, sweatshirt, hoodies, hats, all kinds of stuff. And you can go to this website and you can purchase shirts, and they will print them for you right then and then ship it to your house. So it's, it'll take a little bit. This is not Amazon. It's going to take like a couple of weeks because it's on demand printing and shipping. But we've gotten a couple samples in, and
yes, sir.
It's really good, high quality stuff.
Sean's actually wearing one of the hats right now. It's a trucker hat. Looks glorious on him.
Yep, I've been wearing it on Wednesday nights, and so if you've seen me recently, you've seen this new memorial hat I've been wearing, and it's good. Vicky was wearing the sweatshirt she got the other day. But on top of all that, I've got an even bigger surprise announcement.
What?
We have also designed a Pursuing Jesus shirt.
Hey, let's go.
Very excited. So you can go along. It's got our Pursuing Jesus logo on the front. It's got a really cool back print that you'll see with our podcast logo on it, kind of designed, and it's really cool. So if you'd like any of this stuff, if you go to our Church Center Church app, which if you're a member, you should have that hopefully downloaded. If not, when you scan that QR code in the bulletin on Sundays, that's where it takes you to. It takes 100%. You to the homepage of the church app. But anyways, it will be there by the time this podcast goes up, because it is currently not there. And by me saying this, I now have a deadline to put it on there. It will be there you will be able to see it. So only the people on our podcast are going to know about it. We're not announcing it on Sunday yet. Now, It's going to be on the app, so someone might find it as well. But right here is the only place we're going to announce it to do kind of like a soft launch.
I wonder if I could also link it in the description of the podcast.
Oh, let's do that too.
Shoot me the link and we'll figure it out.
Okay, we'll do that too. So that way, but yeah, y'all go check it out and find some stuff, and the prices aren't terrible.
No,
they're not terrible. And so, but yeah, go check it out. And if this works out pretty good, we'll keep adding more stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get if y'all keep commenting things, we'll have like quotes from the podcast on some of the shirts, and just like John's face really, really zoomed in up close, something like that.
That would be bad.
Couch.
Oh no.
Car.
There will definitely
I think,
not.
is that our first shirt?
Not be a shirt with that.
Go listen to episode 6 if you're confused about what we're laughing at. Thank you for listening. This fine episode 8 to Pursuing Jesus. I have been Ben Smith.
I am still Sean Griffin.
And I'm John Ferguson.
And we'll see you next time on Pursuing Jesus.
All right, bye guys.